The following podcast contains some strong language and some very average opinions. Any references to actual people are wildly inaccurate. It's probably best if you don't listen at all. The Roaring Peacock Podcast. Welcome back to the Roaring Peacock Main Cast. We've got some. I asked for questions for you, Kieran, on the Adonis Twitter, and if Ross and Alex want to take turns in just reading out some of these questions, and we can just go quick fire them.
All right, I'll start. This is from @Barney_21. Should Andrea be praised for what he's done, getting Leeds promoted in such a short space of time without breaking the bank and having a plan in place?
I think I've effectively just said similar. He has really pushed Leeds out. If you take a look at the wage bill in 2015, 2016, it was £18 million in 2016, 46 in 2019. So the wage bill has gone up by 150%. Clearly, he's had a vision. The recruitment of Bielsa as a manager has, I think, you see it on a week by week basis, has very much been a game changer. I think Leeds fans should give him some credit for that. It might have not have been as quick as some fans will want, but then all fans want everything instantly. So I think he's clearly got a vision for the club. Where that vision is going forwards, and whether he wants to be part of it in 5 or 10 years' time, only he knows the answer to that. But he's taken risks. Those risks have paid off, and now if he wants to, he could sell the club at a very tidy profit indeed.
Okay, cool. So the next one has already been answered, but it's a friend of the podcast, Rage Against the Casilla, also a relative of mine, and it's regarding the summer transfer window, about paying up in instalments. So rewind a bit, mate, you'll find it. So I'll move on to the next one, and this is from @DavidH_LUFC. How can we get this fraud off our books? And that is Kiko Casilla signed a 5-year contract with Leeds. What's the best way for us to go about that?
Well, you could you could put him up to train with the kids. You could say you could not name him in the 25 for the second half of the season, and recruit some players to replace him. At Brighton, a guy who was our record signing, our goalkeeper Matt Ryan, he played all the way up to November, and then the manager didn't just drop him, but he just disappeared. He's not even on the bench. He's not even on the bench for the FA Cup matches. So you can put players in a position where they realise that even if they want to go and sit out earning relatively big bucks, it might not be in their interest to do so. And then it's up for the club to perhaps come up with a package which is acceptable for the player. So we've seen Jack Wilshere leave West Ham, and what they've done is they've effectively ripped up his contract and they've paid him 85% of the value of the remainder of his contract to do so. So it's getting rid of players who have not reached expectations is not going to be cheap, but sometimes it's worth just losing that money on a short-term basis, because he's no longer getting the benefits that come with being a professional footballer. So it could be they tend to have their own cars, but gym membership, you're not paying for him going to the physio bench. You've not got a bad smell around the dressing room because somebody's constantly bitching that he's not being given a fair chance. So a lot will come down towards the attitude of the player. If the attitude of the player is professional, then that won't be an issue. And how keen he is to play football if the manager decides he's not going to be part of the squad.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him play some football, but actually play football rather than just doing what he does in goal. This is a question from Maynard M. Someone we've already touched on as well. But what would further investment from the 49ers look like? Can the cash from the sale of shares be invested into the squad, or are there any financial fair play considerations in that sort of movement, money coming to the club?
Right. In terms of equity investments, and by that I mean the issuing of shares to investors. Under Premier League rules, you're allowed to lose £105 million over a 3-year period, and 90 of that can be covered by investments by shareholders. So there is scope. It's to prevent somebody coming in and doing an Abramovich just writing out blank checks when he first arrived at Chelsea. But there is moderate opportunities to invest into a squad, and then you might have some wiggle room because you might have had some headroom in terms of existing financial fair play spending and things of that nature.
Okay.
So the first £30 million a year of investment, whether that's from SF49 or other equity investors, is allowed for financial fair play purposes. Anything above that is good for cash flow.
Okay, cool.
So last question then, and just shout out to Sam Fanning and Simon Winterburn, who both asked the Kiko question, specifically how much would a GoFundMe cost to buy out Kiko's contract, and can we afford to pay off a shit racist keeper, asking for a fan base? The last one comes from at All Love Leeds, as we all love Leeds. And we have sort of touched on this, but it's probably your personal opinion, Kieran. If Leeds establish themselves in the Prem, expand Ellen Road to around 60,000, investment in squad continues, and more importantly, Bielsa stays, do you envisage Leeds breaking into the top 6 under Radrizzani ownership, or will it require significant investment and or sale of the club?
I think it will be a challenge. I don't think it's impossible because Leicester are knocking on that door.
Yeah.
So I think Leicester really have given you the template. And what have Leicester done? First of all, I think they've operated well in the market. Sometimes you get a bit of luck, and I think Jamie Vardy is their bit of luck. Yeah, A, they signed him for next to nothing, and B, he's still there at the age of 33, 34, looking as good as ever. Yeah. So it could be that Patrick Bamford becomes your talisman in that regards, and he becomes a 15 to 20 goal a season striker in the Premier League, and because that suits him more than perhaps the Championship did, because slightly different nature of football. Arsenal are the ones to overtake,
right?
In terms of breaking into the top 6, and I think that Leeds, as a one city club, have the opportunity to do so. They need a bigger stadium to be competitive. I don't know what the state of the training facilities are, but I was talking to you earlier about Leicester. Leicester took that £80 million from Manchester United and they put that straight into new training facilities. So it's things like that. It's about becoming more of a nuanced development club that's really important for Leeds to be able to move on, to be challenging. And even when if it's top 6 isn't the same as top 4. Okay? And every step becomes a very, very expensive, and you need to make you make one recruitment error a year. And I think at present for Leeds, that could set them back, not in terms of being bottom 6 club, but in terms of not being able to push on. If you take a look at West Ham with Haller, close to 40 million, Newcastle, Joe Linton, 30 million, Villa with Wesley, 40 million. There's a lot of money that can be spent on players that don't deliver in the Premier League. And at present, the clubs such as Manchester United, Manchester City and Liverpool and Chelsea, they can afford to get it right 6 times out of 10. Leeds have to get it right 8 times out of 10, I think, to break into that particular gang.
I think West Ham's taken a massive hit, haven't they, on Sebastian Haller? Yeah.
He's gone to Ajax now, and I think he's gone for 22.
It's a huge amount of money to lose in the space of a year.
Like my house. It's the law of diminishing returns as well, isn't it? When you get to the top 4. I mean, you're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of million just to have a point gain of around 6 points on the guy above you. So, yeah, it's a big challenge.
I think Arsene Wenger said to get a 1% improvement when you're recruiting a player over the existing player, you've got to pay him an extra 10% in wages. So to get a 5% increase, it's going to cost you 50% extra in wages. You take a look at the wage bills of Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City. Their wage bills are all in the region of £300 million a year. Now, Leeds' most recent wage bill was 48.
That has terrified me, though, because if we want a 10% increase on Kiko Casilla, that's going to cost us a lot of fucking money. Oh, shit.
Would there be much difference, say, if we were taken over by the Niners or KSI? Would they have to would they have to input more money?
There's KSI gone into...
lucrative market.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
QSI, sorry.
Hey, guys, it's your boy QSI.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Would QSI be able to input more money than the 49ers if it took over? Or was the FFP in place to stop that happening?
No. The rules are based on the club rather than the owner. So having a transfer of ownership, I mean, the only benefit could be is if the existing owner hadn't put money in. If we take a look to see what's happened at Burnley, they've got new owners who have come in. The previous owners have not put a penny into the club over the last decade, and they've walked away with the thick end of £200 million. So
Ken Bates' dream.
Oh yeah. And Burnley are the best run club financially in the Premier League.
Right.
Because I have seen their wages. Right. They've got a very narrow wage band between the highest and the lowest paid players in the squad. They recruit in a particular market. You can tell a Burnley player from a long way away. Chris Woods, Ashley Barnes, Hendrick, all those type of players who they've been recruiting. They've got a Burnley stamp on them, a particular value in a market, but that doesn't work for every club, and I don't think it would work for Leeds.
Most of our stats come from LUFC Stats or LUFC Data on Twitter. You should probably give them a follow, as they're more interesting than us. A very special thanks to Adam Warner, Barney Stewart, Cookie, Ewan and Howard Metcalf, Josh Pearson, Laura, Leon and Rob, The Light Show, and all our family and friends.
So many games.